Well, hello everyone. Thank you for coming tonight to the UMass Icons info session. My name is Wesley Dunham. I am class of 1999 from UMass Amherst. I was a communication grad while at UMass, and I am the strategic communication and program manager for the program. And so I do a little bit of everything other than teach you. Maybe I teach some life skills. We'll see. But we're so happy to have all of you here. We have students from all around the world, New England, all around the country that are joining us. And I thank you all for taking a little bit of your time before school starts to learn about our certificate program. Um, if you have in the future, after this session, if you have any questions about icons or UMass in general, I'm happy to help. So you've received emails from me from the icons account. Just reply to that, and I'll do my best to help you out with whatever you need. Tonight, you are here to learn about the UMass Icons program. We are an undergraduate certificate program, which you'll hear more about how that works. Um, and to help you do that, I am here, but we also have Scott Arbeck. He is the Mahoney family sponsored executive director of UMass Icons and a founding member. He was sent out across the country to research and pick apart programs and see if there's anything like us. And he might hit on that when he talks. But we also have five students from the program, ranging from sophomores up to juniors. So some students have gone through 2 years of the program, some only one. They will talk about their experience and talk a little bit about who they are. Um, and again, our goal is to give you as much information as possible about the UMass Icons program. We only have 1 hour. Right now, we only have 57 minutes remaining to do that. So we may not get to every single question that you have. And we may not get to every specific question about your major. We will do our best. Feel free to ask a question during a Q&A time, out loud, or raise your hand if I can see it. But also you can put things in the chat. We will be answering those hopefully in real time. And if I see anything super important, I will try to bring that up to everyone, okay? Um, and again, if we don't get to things, you still have an unanswered question, you can email me and I will do my best. Once you're on campus, I am happy to meet with any of you for 5, 10, 20, as many minutes as it takes to explain what UMass Icons is. So without further ado, I want to introduce Scott Arbeck, our executive director, and then we'll talk to our students that are in Icons currently after that. So Scott, if you'd like to say hello.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Scott Auerbach. I'm a professor in the chemistry department. I've been at UMass. I'm starting actually, this is the very beginning of my 32nd year,
Mm.
which is crazy. Time flies when you're having fun. And the best thing about my job is getting to work with students like you. So thank you so much for coming.
All right, Scott, are you going to do a PowerPoint?
I sure am.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do the
So I
students
will.
after you talk.
Okay, super. So we'll jump right into that, and I'm going to share a screen, and I hope I share the right one. Wish me luck. Okay, that looks
Looks
good.
good so far.
Okay, we'll go to the beginning,
Mhm.
and then we'll start slideshow from beginning. All right. Does that look good? Everybody can see
Yes.
that? All right, great. So thank you. Let me just say again, thank you so much to everybody for coming tonight. Um, UMass Icons program is like flexing a different muscle of your brain, and it's the muscle that's focusing on real world problems. And our mission is to inspire a diverse generation of folks who are going to innovate, um, hopefully trying to solve these problems. What am I talking about when it comes to problems? Well, there's no shortage of problems. And I think what I want to do is, speaking of problems, I'd like to get a laser pointer. So there's a laser pointer. Good. God, can you see my laser pointer? There it is. I hope you can. Anyway, so whether it's the fact that we're still getting about 80% of our energy from burning fossil fuels, and we're not reusing and recycling, but we're creating gigantic mountains of trash. Um, and then on top of that, there's climate change, which is redistributing water all over the planet Earth. Biggest use of water for human beings is making food, and this is putting food and water security at risk for billions of people. And I haven't even mentioned the issue of infectious disease or cancer. And then there comes, in a sense, the biggie is what's AI going to do to the world? What's it going to do to jobs? How are we going to be able to succeed in a world that's permeated with AI? Bottom line, there's no shortage of problems, and I wonder, like, how many people are concerned about the future here? I raise my hand because I am, and the thing that keeps me up at night is, although higher education is great at instilling very detailed information, I don't know if we're giving you the attitudes and skills you need to solve these big, multifaceted problems. But the thing that gets me up in the morning, in addition to a strong cup of coffee,
Mm.
is the fact that these kinds of problems actually are great educational platforms. They make great platforms for getting you ready for success in the real world and for changing the world for the better. So that's what we're about in Icons, and this is how we do it. It's very simple. It's a simple formula. It's diverse teams of students working on today's big problems. And these are problems of your choosing. That's the only reason why you'd want to work on a big problem is you get to choose it. So diverse teams, we take students from all fields of STEM, whether it's engineering or basic science or math or environmental science or even psychology, and then of course there's all the fields of business, because any solution to a problem is like starting a little business. So we need to bring business, we need to bring policy, we need to bring a diversity of different sort of areas of expertise. There's not one person who can know everything, but if you work in a team where you have distributed expertise, that can be a very effective team. So that's the basis of what we're trying to do in Icons. And this is what working in the real world looks like. So we're trying to get you ready for that. So what is Icons? It's a certificate program. It's not a major. That would defeat the purpose because everybody would have the same background. It's not a minor because minors live within, majors. It's a certificate. It's the bridge. It's the glue that brings it all together. It trains cross-functional teams across 45 different majors. It goes deep with innovative research. It builds leaders with an approach called student-driven learning, where you get to choose the problems you want to work on and solutions you want to pursue. And it hones the kind of skills that companies are going to want to are looking for, especially in a competitive job market like it is right now. It's incredibly, competitive. So you're looking for anything that's going to, prepare you and give you a story. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. So this just gives a sense of why our previous students have come to Icons. It's almost like everybody has a different reason to come to Icons, whether it's about the experience in college, the fact that, like, Diana says, you get to connect different kinds of thinking. You get to work, like Hannah says, on relevant problems. You don't have to wait till you're a junior or senior to work on something important. Or you get to learn about other cultures or you get to talk to people who are different from you. Or it could be because of what happens after college, because you're gaining the skills the company needs. Or it just, in general, you hit the ground running after college and you get the confidence to do big things. A big thing with Icons is, students come in, they're like, how can I possibly work on something that's really hard, like a real world problem? Well, what we do is we work with you to gain the confidence and the skills so that you can make progress on it. So the structure of the program, there's 4 tracks. Roughly health, so biomedicine, health of people, health of the planet, sustainable materials and energy. This is the smart stuff of society, the built environment. Food, water, climate. This is really sort of the natural environment, but with a focus on clean food and water in a warming world. And then this is AI and the future of work, where technology and humanity meet. These are kind of the 4 grand challenges of our time. And sticking with the number 4, Icons has 4 steps. So this is the structure of the program. So this is the introduction to real world problem solving. And this actually counts for one of the general education courses that you need to take. So why not take the icons one? Icons two focus on communication, reading, writing, speaking, discussing, and debating on the problems relevant to your track. Again, this counts for the writing course you have to take. Why not take the icons one? Then there's prototyping, where you actually get to take the ideas from years 1 and 2 and start to put them into practice and see what ideas work either in the lab or if you're trying to create a new piece of policy or a new business model. And then Icons 4 is a 2-semester experience that kind of maps on either to the senior thesis, the senior design project, where you're working on something that has been meaningful to you for your 3 years of college, and you're spending a year trying to move the needle on that problem. So at the end of the day, this is an experience that's threaded through many different kinds of majors, and it almost like breathes life into the major, like wind in the sail, by being able to take the knowledge from your major and apply it to real world problems. So you might ask, how many people have come through this? Well, we've had about 1,000 people. We're starting. This is the official start of our 17th year, which is exciting. And I've been there the whole way. And we've had about 1,000 students come into Icons. We have many alums who have found great career success. And so the question, where are Icons alumni? The answer, wherever they want to be. And just to give you some examples, these are examples of grad schools and companies that have hired our alums right out of college, doing high impact work. And if you're interested in any of these companies or any of these grad schools or med schools, we can put you in touch with our Icons alums who are there. So I want to give you a couple examples of problems that people have worked on. This is an example out of the biomedicine track. Here are 4 Icon students who met in Icons 1. They got excited about a problem related to antibiotic resistance, the fact that our uses of antibiotics are making bacteria immune to them, and we're going to at some point run out of medicines, and that's a problem. One of them had just recently lost a grandparent in the hospital from a hospital-acquired infection, which are sometimes the worst. So they got an idea. The details are on the slide, trying to come up with a way to make catheters where the bacteria won't stick. They got an idea, and they decided to use the entire Icons program, all 4 steps of the Icons program, to work on their idea. They got so excited, they started a company, and while they were students in college, raised $70,000 to work on this. So this is an example. If you get excited and the fire is lit, use Icons and the resources and the faculty and the expertise within Icons to follow up on your idea. A second one comes from the Sustainable Energy and Materials track, and this is related to greening the infrastructure of UMass. What this graph shows is that UMass is the biggest emitter of greenhouse gases among all state agencies in Massachusetts. Now, it's not surprising. UMass is a big campus, but by law, we have to get 126,000 metric tons per year. We have to get that down to 0 by the year 2050. Question, how? Icon students have been working on this for 5 years now, coming up with a range of different kinds of technologies, but not only the technology, but the economics behind the technology to make the university convinced that this is a good investment. And so gaining the skills to be able to not only work on the technology, understand the economics, but being able to make the pitch is an example of what is unique about the Icons experience. Now, I've also said that we have the Food, Water, Climate, AI, Future of Work tracks. These tracks are relatively new. So we don't have a lot of results from them yet, but we have students who've been working on them. I know that I think Vincel, who's one of the students here, is in the Food, Water, Climate track, being a food science major. And so these are some examples of the kinds of problems that people are working on. Regenerative agriculture is a huge, well, it's not a problem, but it's a way to solve a problem of regenerative agriculture, unsustainable agriculture practices like tilling, which is once a year, basically dragging knives through the soil. The soil is a living being that absorbs CO2. And when that happens, huge plume of CO2 goes into the atmosphere every single year. That can be avoided. And then in the AI future of work, a big focus area for students who've just started this track is in education. The idea that people are very nervous about how AI is going to impact education and student learning. And the question is there a way that AI can improve it? So those are a couple of the sort of feature problem areas that are looking important for the future of icons. So what are your next steps? Well, step one, you got to come to UMass Amherst. The good news is that you will be. It's only a matter of time. And when you get here, the second step is to apply to icons. We ask you to apply. The deadline is Tuesday, October 13th at the close of the day, the end of the day. 3 short questions, something about your past, about a problem that you've solved, an approach that you've used, and how that can add a kind of a new tool to the icons world, something about the future. Where do you think you're going to go in your career in 10 years? How does icons help you to get there? And then something about the present. What's a real world problem that has you at the edge of your seat that you would like to work on? There's also in the fall the idea slam. It's like a poetry slam or a story slam, but in this case, it's an icons idea slam where a thought leader comes to campus and they present a problem and you get to think about it, work on it, and then slam an idea. At the end of the day, whatever you do, check out this website because this is where all of the juicy deets are about icons and what's coming up. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming tonight. And of course, we're happy to answer any questions. I'm going to stop sharing right now.
Thank you very much, Scott.
You're very
Yes,
welcome.
and I put it in the chat about the application that Scott referenced. That should be 99% sure that will be live tomorrow. I will make that 99.9% sure, unless there's a the world goes down. The application will be live on the Icons website on the home screen tomorrow. So if you're interested, you can take a look at it. There's no rush to do the application. It's due October 13th. There you do not get extra points for turning it in early. So take your time, look at the questions. One thing I'm hoping we'll say again at the end, but if you do have thoughts about the application, we will be holding an application support session on Zoom. It'll be Wednesday, October 7th at 7 p.m. and I'll let you all know about that. You can come. You will give a little bit more detail. We're not going to tell you what to write. A little bit more detail about the application, and some hacks and some tips about that. So you can certainly wait and start writing and wait until then. Again, no extra points. We don't look at the applications until October 14th. So that session will be later on in October, and I will tell you about it. Now we're going to have our students come and start talking. We do have 5 of them: Miranda, Amrita, Sanjita, Vincel, and Bart. And I'd like to have Miranda come on first, say hello, tell you a little bit about her experience. Miranda?
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Miranda. I am going to be a sophomore this year, so I have gone through one class of icons. Just a little bit about me. I'm from Worcester, Massachusetts, so pretty close by. I am involved in a couple things on campus. I enjoy being a part of the fencing club. If anyone knows anything about fencing, I like epee. That's the one that I do. I'm also a part of the Student Alumni Association, which is a really fun organization that runs a lot of events on campus. You get to meet a ton of people, some very like high up people in the campus community, which is very fun to be a part of. I just enjoy being on campus, meeting new people, and I'm very excited about icons. So I'll tell you guys a little bit about that. Um, I am part of the food, water, climate track because my major is environmental science. So that was just something that I thought was very interesting. All of the tracks sound great. I've enjoyed talking to many different people in my class about the sort of stuff that they're interested in. Yeah, I joined Icons because it sounded very interesting to me. The way that it's structured. I did the International Baccalaureate program in high school. It's not something a ton of people are familiar with, but it has a very interdisciplinary, discussion-based, project-based feel to it. And that sounded exactly like Icon. So I was very interested in that from the start and wanted to join. The class is really great at getting you to talk to other students. You're not really talking to a professor a lot. You do have that option, of course, but it's just really great for me to get to talk to a bunch of people that are in a bunch of different majors and interested in things and really like work on something at the start. One of, I think my favorite project, you got to do two projects your first year. The semester is broken up into two parts and you get to work with different people. It's great. My favorite one is that a group of students, all different majors, because it's very interdisciplinary, um, came up with a design for a green space on campus because we have a lot of lawn area, which is fine, but there's not a lot of biodiversity in just grass. And so we were trying to focus on how do we increase biodiversity? What are the benefits to having increased biodiversity on campus? And also kind of tying that into how can this be helpful for students and other people as well? So this is something that would be very helpful for like climate, because plants capture CO2. It would be great for students to have a space like that. And so we actually drew a design for a real place on campus, kind of by Worcester Dining Hall, which I hope you'll visit. It's around there near the bus stop, and designed it. We talked about it, did a bunch of research, reached out to people in the school, found out costs for things, how much this might actually cost, what resources we would need to use, who runs those things, and came up with a render. I forget the software, unfortunately, of what this might actually look like and got to present to the class and hear everyone's thoughts on it. And I just thought that that was really awesome and something cool that we got to just go and work on right away.
Wonderful. Thank you. Um, Miranda, I am curious. This was a question that was posed from one of the registrants during registration. How do you think a program like Icons, which has you working with students from different majors, will help you in your major for the next 3 years?
I think that Icons, just because it's so collaborative, I think is going to be the main thing for that. Obviously, there's a lot of information that we do know about the environment, but it's a very like ever-changing subject. There's a lot of things going on right now with climate change and policy and everything that are going to seriously change how that might the learning experience might be, what things are going to be happening in the future for that. So I think being able to collaborate with people, get different ideas, because like what was said earlier, not everyone has the same idea or perspective. So you want to get other thoughts from people on that, things that you might not know because it might not be your area of expertise. So yeah, definitely being able to have those thoughts and ideas in a changing academic environment, I think would be very important and valuable.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Um, all right. If there's no other questions for Miranda specifically, I'd like to thank you again and welcome Amrita to join us.
Hi guys, my name is Amrita. I'm also going to be a second year at UMass. I'm a neuroscience major. I used to be on the exploratory track for a while last year, so if you guys have any questions about that regarding icons as well, I can help you answer those. Um, and I like a lot of things about UMass. The food, which I feel like a lot of people like, but got to say that one. I also just like roaming around campus, walking, talking. It's a very big campus, so the fresh air is great. That's definitely something I enjoy. I'm part of the neuroscience club. I'm on the e-board for next year, so if you want to come by and say hi, that would be great. Um, and regarding icons, I think one of the reasons I decided to apply, I think when I was researching for UMass, before I applied, I came across the website and I was like, oh, this is like kind of cool. Like you get to look at real world problems. Like I didn't really know what a real world like problem would look like in a classroom setting, but once you get there and you get to see that like, oh, you are surrounded by people from many different majors, public health, business, neuroscience, biology, policy, all sorts of people, and everyone has a different style of thinking, and that way you get to come up with a whole bunch of answers to many different problems, and it's a really cool way to get, I guess, a head start on what you want to do in 4 years when you get a job or when you go to that new internship or research experience.
Great. Thank you, Amrita. I'd like you to talk about how your interest in neuroscience might have been used in your two team projects. Was it, I mean, did you have a direct use for your projects, or was there a certain way of thinking about the project because of your interest in neuroscience?
So my first project in icons was about displacement as a result of hurricanes, especially in the
Mm,
US. So that isn't directly related to neuroscience, but once we got into researching about it with other classmates, my classmates were from chemistry and environmental science, so I got to like research a bunch about how were people feeling about getting displaced from their homes. Obviously, that's not a very great experience to have. So that tied to mental health and hospital uses. That was definitely like, I think, something to research on the side. So even if your major doesn't have like a direct link to what you're researching, it's definitely like a avenue that you can go down and explore for your own interests. My second project was about improving sickle cell diagnosis and
mm.
testing. So a bit more related, more on the biology side, but I think that I got to do surveys and see if like people were aware about what sickle cell is, and we got to talk to people who did have the trait or the disease, and we got to see like how their mental health is or how their health is in general. So that's definitely like something that I was interested in. So yeah, even if it's not like it can, there are chances that your major will be directly related to a project that you choose. And in the case that it's not, it's definitely something that, an avenue that you can go explore and tie your interests to other people's interests as well, which can be really cool.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Amrita. There have been a few questions and some chatter in the chat room. One question was about applications. So to apply to icons, you have to be a first or second year student, or depending on your credits and things like that, you need 2.5 years basically to get through the program. And what happens, I know there was some questions from registration about, how does that affect getting through the program if you're a second year student? Basically, at some point, either most likely your junior year, you will double up on what Scott told you about the 4 steps on icons 2 and icons 3. And depending on what academic track you are, they're the same thing, but one will be called a different thing. It's junior year writing and the prototyping lab experience. So first and second year students can apply. All right. And as we said in the chat, about 75% come in as first year students. We don't have a quota. That's just how it runs each year. And that's a lot of times based on the application numbers that we do have more first years. So there's also a little bit of background on the Idea Slam if you do want to read the chat. Scott explained that a little bit more. So again, thank you very much, Amrita. And now I would like Sanjita to come offline or come online and say hello.
Hi everyone, my name is Sanjita and I'm from Massachusetts. And on campus, I'm majoring in finance and political science. And in Icon specifically, I'm part of the AI and future work track. And alongside Icons, I'm also a member of the Minutemen Fixed Income Fund on campus. It's a student-run investment fund focused on credit specifically. And I especially chose UMass because I wanted to first come to like a large school where I could combine like different interests. Growing up, I was really interested in like both business and law, which is why like UMass would allow me to like explore both of those interests. And also like my experience so far has been so amazing because I remember my tour guide once saying like you can like make like you can never make like a small school feel big, but you can make like a large school feel small, which
That's
is
good.
why like all the communities that I've been part of, like they truly make me feel like UMass can also like have like smaller communities within like a larger school, and so does the Icons program. And I've also like moved around quite a bit throughout my life, um, which really just makes me super interested in just like meeting new people, like different backgrounds, different skill sets and interests. And I really saw that with the Icons program. And then one of my favorite projects that I've worked on so far has been like the first project. So I think Miranda mentioned that you do two projects in Icons one, and that's same for the AI track as well. So the first case study that I did was more like project based, and we were really able to like create like an actual like web app where like students could like answer like an exit ticket where they could like show their critical thinking skills, something that teachers really like, especially like with take home assignments and quizzes. And that project just really excited me because I was able to work with like a lot of different majors like electrical engineering, OIM, English, and computer science. So we're all able to just like bring in different perspectives and ultimately like come up with a solution. And next year we are hoping to maybe like talk to different teachers in the local Amherst area and might like implement that. Just try to do like a survey and try to bring that into the local communities here.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. One more page. Um, so as you just said, you were part of the AI and the Future of Work track. That was you're the first cohort of that track. So thank you for being our guinea pigs with that track. Um, I'm curious as a finance and political science student, what drew you to that track?
Yeah. Um, I was really just interested in like all the different tracks that Icons offered. But after like doing a lot more research, I kind of narrowed it down to like the AI track specifically because I noticed that like AI is just impacting like so many different sectors across business. And I knew that I wanted to have a research opportunity, something that I just wanted to explore outside of finance and political science and also just meet new people. And I liked how collaborative icons was while you're also able to like solve like real world problems. And I noticed like these skills that you can develop in the AI track, like you can bring to any like interview, any job that you want to go into in the future. And I just feel like AI is just it's important into any like field that you want to pursue in the future. So regardless of like whichever path that I want to go down, I know that like whatever like the skills that I develop or like the technical skills. Like I remember like the professors did do like a lesson on like prompt engineering and just understanding like the mechanics behind the different like generative AI models. So I knew that like those types of skills would like translate into like any path that I want to pursue in the future.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Um, So we had one question which on the chat that led me to think, Scott, I'm going to ask you if you can give a brief answer. Someone asked about, if I'm doing research in a
Hmm.
lab, can I apply those questions that I'm trying to answer to
Hmm.
icons? But so it got me thinking about, when students have specific ideas that they really want to work on. Can you talk about, and I might not be going in the direction you think I'm going, can you talk about how projects are decided on a broad scope
Hmm.
within the icons one, two, and three
Hmm.
parts? Like, we say that these are student driven, but all 144 students in the cohort don't get to choose what they exactly, or don't get to work on everything they want to do. So
Hmm.
how are teams
Hmm.
decided?
Hmm. Yeah. So, thank you, Wesley.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we had 144 students in a cohort and they wanted to work on 144 different things,
Ooh.
then we wouldn't be working in teams. So how does it work?
Mhm.
And the short answer is uh, it depends on the icons class.
Mhm.
So in icons one, when we welcome you to the program, and we do that the first Saturday of December, we get bagels and coffee, and we all get together. And what we do is we figure out, and we split up into there's three icons one class sections, and each section gets together and they have a brainstorming session on what is a theme that can bind us all but be still broad enough that people can work on different aspects of it. So one of them was natural disasters. That was icons one. And a natural disaster can be a flood, it can be a pandemic. Um, and so it was, and the great thing is the students came up with this as their theme, a unifying theme that allows people to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. And yet it's so broad that students can take different slices through that. So that's actually just the first project in Icons One. Then in the second project, it was just all bets are off and people can work on whatever they want. And the way that that works is that students so students who have an idea what they want to work on write it on a whiteboard, and then other students kind of rotate through, and the students who know what they want to work on try to recruit you to their team based on some experience you've had, maybe the major that you have. So that's a typical icons one vibe. Icons two, a communication course, we want to teach you how to write an effective proposal. So in icons two, what you do is you write a proposal, and then and then that gets rated by your peers. And then the top half of the rated, proposals, they get to give a pitch. So if you can write a great proposal and give a good pitch, then your project can be funded. And then students pick the funded projects and you form teams that way. Very similar approach in icons three. So the point is, this is a real world experience, not only in the work you do, but in the way the teams form. You're learning the skills that you need to be able to advocate for your ideas. In Icons 4, that's your senior project, and you just dream up what you want to do. You find a faculty member who's going to support you, and off to the races you go.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
All right. Vincel, where are you? You're down there. How are you? Come on. Come on on. Come on.
Hi, I'm Vincel. I'm a rising junior, so I'll be a junior this year. I am a food science and economics double major, and I took on the double major in my sophomore year, so icons was actually one of the reasons I decided to take a double major. One reason let me start over. Some of the things I like to do outside of icons are I like to rock climb. There's rock climbing on campus, and I'm part of a multicultural sorority, Delta Xi Phi. So you have plenty of time to be doing other activities on campus. And sorry. One of the reasons I chose icons is because I love the diversity that it offers. And like Sanjitha touched on, it's a great way to make a large campus feel a little bit smaller. My icons cohort is like about 200 students, and the icon UMass campus is like 30,000 people. So it's a great way to have a community of like-minded individuals that would also like to work on real world problems and find people that like have the same interests as you, but come from diverse backgrounds and meet people you otherwise wouldn't have ever met. One project that I really enjoyed in Icons was my Icons 2 project, which was a public policy proposal on how to change opinions of eating insect protein because we're facing a lot of food. Oh, and I'm in the food water climate track. Because we're facing a lot of issues with world food supply and how to distribute that, we we are looking at like alternative proteins, and I found that insect proteins were a really good solution to that. But for a lot of reasons, people don't like to eat bugs. So my proposal was on how do we change people's opinions of that and tackling that as a core issue. Something that's great about this Icons project is that as a food science major, I would be working on how do we make insect proteins palatable? How do we make sure that it's food safe? But Icons allowed me to take a different perspective on that and expand my horizons on saying, why don't people want to eat bugs? And can we change that in a different way than besides just impacting what the food is?
Remind me not to invite you to a potluck dinner. No, that's awesome. I love our food science department. I love it. Vincel, that's great. So there's been a couple questions about time involved in icons and things like that. But I want to know, you've gone through a couple classes. How are they different than your other classes that you have? Let's stick with maybe food science. Oh, well, anything, are there ways that you think icons classes are a little different?
I think icons classes are very student driven, as both you and Scott have touched on.
Mhm.
But to further explain what does student driven mean, our our professors, since it's a smaller classroom, they can involve us more in the discussion. And something that a lot of icons professors like to do is have us create our own rubrics so that we know exactly what we're striving for and exactly why. So we get to decide as a class what's most important for us to improve on and what goals we have to strive for. So we're very involved in the course structure itself.
That's great. That's great. Yes. Wonderful. Um, Somebody asked in the chat about study abroad, and our basic answer is yes, you can study abroad. Yes, you can do a co-op if you're leaving UMass. Icons is small, so we're a certificate program. We only have so many classes. We're not like Biology 100 with 25 different sections, but we can be flexible. You don't have to do everything in order, other than Icons 1 has to be first. Um, we can work on an individual plan. There's, 380 students in icons, and everybody has a different story. So that's why I'm here to work with you as an advisor. So, not everything can be done. If you try to go to Washington, D.C., plus you want to go to Hawaii, plus you want to, if you do too many things, it may not work out. But I will try to work with everybody to figure out what's the best path forward. So to alleviate any stress and to make sure that you are well planned out for your future. Um, so again, Vincel, thank you very much. I love it. And I want Bart. Bart's our last student. Um, he is, I don't know if he'll talk about this, but he is one of our Crowley Noack Scholars, which is a scholarship we offer to Icon students, and it's a leadership role as well within the program. So not to steal your thunder, Bart, but why don't you say hello?
Hi everyone. Yeah, I'm Bart. I am an environmental science and computer science double major. I'm also on the food, water, climate track. I initially didn't know if I wanted to do food, water, climate or the sustainable energy one because I'm also doing like into like energy policy and stuff. And I'm trying to start up a club on campus next semester for electronics repair. If you're interested in that, hit me up. And I'm also doing like 10 other things on campus, so don't be like me. But um, yeah, I really love icons. It, like people have been saying, it definitely like if you're someone who can take really good initiative, that is really good. I joined because, and I wanted to see what research was about, and I've been loving it so far, so really glad I joined. And also because I wanted to solve real world problems. I want to, put my majors to good use and do some good in the world, so it's the goal. Um, Icons 1 and 2 were quite different for me. Icons 1, I know a lot of other people have had the experience of having two different projects. Our class was a little bit different. We had, my group at least, had one project the whole time. We made a forum to compare the nutrition of food that people were eating versus how accessible it was to them. And yeah, this is where like the interdisciplinary aspect comes in because, we had people who were more like on the health side of things. We had people who were more on, stuff about food. And we also had, um, yeah, so we had a form to compare it, and then using that, we wanted to see if there were like solutions that we could think of to see if we can make food more accessible and more healthy. And we also wanted to make a website similar to Too Good to Go, if anyone has ever heard of that before. Basically, like when restaurants have like their food that they is left over, they try to donate it. And so that's where like the computer science component comes in. Um, and then for Icons 2 was really great. It was a lot of work, but basically earlier Scott was talking about the process of, the whiteboard with all the different ideas. And I pitched my idea to the class, and I got a very good group going, and a really interesting project. It was on phytoremediation, which is super cool. It's basically using plants to take out like hazardous materials out of like the soil or water. And so what we did is we actually went to the greenhouse and we grew some plants that were able to do this. And we wanted to see how biochar, which is like a like burnt organic matter, how that affected the rate of uptake of zinc from the plants. So it was really cool. It was a lot of background research that was required because it was like a really complex topic. Also, a lot of work getting all the different materials, finding out what materials we even needed to do for this, getting access to the greenhouse, and writing about the actual like experimental work that we did. So yeah, it was really cool. And yeah.
Great. Um, you know, right, you've done the two classes. You're the Carly Noack Scholar. You spend a lot of time in our iSpace, which is an icons only study space and things like that. Um, and you've gotten to know the program pretty well. I'm curious if there's anything unique or interesting about the program, about the certificate program, that we haven't talked about or often gets overlooked or not discussed enough. Do you have anything?
I mean, the iSpace definitely like the fact that there isn't like always like a horde of people in there is crazy. Like it's such a nice space and there's like snacks and whiteboards and stuff. Um,
That's
but
great.
for a more serious answer, I think definitely again like taking initiative. Like you can do like a crazy amount of stuff if you have like a good team who's like dedicated on this. Like the Icons 2 project was actually so fun, and it was crazy that like I could do something like this that I was so interested in. Um, so yeah.
Great. Yeah, well, Bart, I do believe the iSpace is serious. I love it. It is again an icons only space. Bart mentioned snacks. We put games in there. We have Legos in there. It's meant to be a nice space. It's a great space for teams to meet. We have computer screens if you want to do Zoom meetings. Students do interviews in there if it's, if they don't mind doing an interview with maybe another person. We often have food there. There's whiteboards so you can do all your math problems and things like that. Games, and we have a little free library in there. So it's a wonderful space in Letterly. Um, we are. I want to get to some questions. We're done with our students, so I thank everyone. There might be some questions that I ask people based on some other things, but there's been a lot of comments, chats about what counts for what. And so the chat will have, I listed what our Icons 1 courses count as. Um, the AI track has a separate class that counts as your SBDU, social, well, SDU maybe, social science, diversity, university credit. And then Scott's going to pop on in a second. And the
Yeah,
Icons
so
180, yep.
SBDU, social and behavioral,
Okay, it is behavioral. All right.
and DU is diversity within the United States,
Okay.
as
And
opposed to DG, which is a global diversity.
global. Right. Thank you.
Yes, and I am now the world's expert on general
I
education
saw
because
that
I'm
you
on the
go to
General Education Revision Task Force, and I've been meeting twice a week for an hour and a half, twice a week, to talk
wonderful.
about general education.
That's well worth it. And then the Icons 189H, which is one Icons 1 for all the other three tracks, counts as your I, interdisciplinary. So sometimes you might have already taken something in the fall that counts as that, but it does count. Um, One of our classes, we'll call it Icons 2 for general purposes, is counts as your junior year writing. It has counted for every single major that I have ever worked with in Icons, but because we have so many new majors for the AI track, we work with every department to make sure they recognize and so far so good. So it counts as your junior year writing. So that replaces a class. Icons runs on a theory that we hope this is credit neutral. I know a lot of people had questions about, are these added classes? Can I get through a program? These classes should replace other ones. Icons 3 or our prototyping, our lab experience for Icon students for many majors is a 300 level lab or tech elective for a lot of our engineers. Um, Check in with your advisors. We can always supply syllabus for the class because for many students and majors, that replaces some sort of 300 level um, lab requirement or things like that. If you're an English major, and we do have an English major in icons, I don't know if it will satisfy. But with that, we also have a business alternative. We have two business classes we work with that might help you if you're in a social science or a business. And we also have policy, working with the public policy department. So that might help you with a requirement, or if you don't want to do a lab, quote unquote, like a STEM type lab, and policy is more your angle, there are alternatives for Icon 3, which might help you. um, the combination of Icons 3, the lab experience, and your Icons 4 seminars, one of them, help you with your IE, which is integrative experience, which every undergraduate student at UMass needs to get before they graduate. So you can get a lot of things through Icons. In addition, sorry, there's a lot of info. All of our icons classes, 1, 2, and 3, except for the AI icons 1, again, a lot of info, are honors classes. So if you're in honors, icons is perfect for you because you get a 200 level, a 100 level, a 300 level. But you do not need to be in honors to be in icons. Typically, new cohorts are about 35% honors, and our graduating classes are typically around 50% honors because of one, attrition, or people join honors while they're here. So hopefully that made all sense. If there's one takeaway is that icons should not be a burden on your schedule. These classes should be credit neutral and count for something else. Um, okay, so I'm trying to keep an eye on questions as well. We have 6 minutes left, so I want, we don't have a lot of time, but Vincel, there was a question earlier about time of these, how much time does this take? Now, knowing that these are classes, can you talk about, let's say you did junior writing, right, Vincel? Yes, so that's a 200 level honors course, 4 credit. Did you see that being, like, what was that compared to other classes at a 200 level?
Um,
Time-wise, as much as like homework and quizzes and time involved with it.
In my experience, I'd say it was about the same time, if not less, just because Icons doesn't tend to do any quizzes or sorts of like formal exams. We're graded more on our projects and our results and our collaborative behavior. So I found that my outside of class, the time that I was dedicating to Icons was to meet with my team or do independent research that I couldn't really be doing in class. But we also had a lot of in-class time to work on our own projects where we were just supported by our professors and we weren't given any active assignments except work on your project. So I didn't find it to be any larger time commitment than any other 200 level course.
Wonderful. Thank you. Um, I I keep coming up with thoughts having done this for 6 years now. Um, one thing that sometimes people think is, I'm on the sustainable energy and materials track. Am I going to learn about sustainable energy? And I want you all to know these aren't lecture style classes. These are problem solving, research based. Our tracks are themed so that there's a focus within the class based on perhaps a career after UMass, but you are not coming to be lectured to about that track. All right. And the other part of that is our academic tracks are not meant to be silos. They are not meant to keep you with guardrails, a lot of metaphors here. Um, so if you have interests that fall outside of those four academic tracks, or your career is going to fall, your anticipated career is going to fall outside of one of those tracks, it's okay. Choose the one that you think you have the most interest in, um, because they're not meant to be silos. If you want to work slightly adjacent, a little bit outside those areas, as long as you can form a team to work on something, that's great. We want you thinking and working on problems as opposed to just sticking to what exactly we think we want. That's not the icon's way. Um, so I want to make sure everyone um, knows that. So we have 3 minutes left. There are, again, some questions being answered. I'm pointing over here because that's where I see it. But Scott, do you have any parting words or reminders or anything like that you want to share with any of our students tonight?
I sure do. First of all, I want to thank the icons students. I think there's nothing as exciting as hearing from an icons student. And I tip my hat to each and every one of you for what you bring to the program. I also want to thank everybody else for coming, for showing up. I think we had about more than, what was it, more 150 people signed up for this. So thank you for actually signing up and showing up. Appreciate that. I want to say two things about icons. One is taking a step back. The job of higher education is two things: is to prepare you to succeed in the real world and to help you, equip you, change the world for the better. Both of those things involve the world. And so what we want to do is we want to give you a chance to interact with the world in a way that's exciting. So, and that will obviously, as we've said many times, give you a leg up on on stepping into the real world. The other thing is we're entering into a world that's going to be dominated in large part by AI, and all academics are running around like chickens with their heads cut off, trying to figure out how to deal with a world with AI, where the typical homework being like an essay is now a thing of the past. And so studies have been done. Studies are being reported that ironically, the kind of stuff you get in icons is the thing that's going to last. It's how to ask a good question. It's how to work with people who are different from you. It's how to express your point of view to people who have very different points of view. It's basically how to be a human. Okay, we see the machines are good at being machines. How can humans be good at being human? It's about being curious. It's about being adaptable. It's about going with the flow. It's about listening. These are all the things you get from icons. And so if you really want to be good at being a human, please apply to icons.
Wonderful. Well, I thank you all. We hit 9 o'clock. So I hope everyone has a wonderful move-in experience. If you haven't moved in already, we will hopefully see your names with an application. Please contact me if you have any questions. I thank you all. Good luck. Good night or good morning if you're across the globe. Have a wonderful night, day.